Welcome to chapter 11. That is to say, you have made it 1/4 through the textbook. You are now entering the second fourth. So in chapter 11, we meet the desiderative mood. As I mentioned in chapter 8, when Anush was sick, there is no verb in Mari with the meaning to, want to. Instead, we use different mechanisms. We already learned the mechanism that is used for non-volitional wanting, when you want or do not want something for external factors, for factors outside of your control, like if you're sick or you're tired or whatnot, and thus want to sleep, don't want to eat, whatever. The desiderative is a straightforward volitional wanting, shall we say. And its formation, it is the stem, followed by an ending ne. This is cognate with the Hungarian conditional ending and the Finnish potential ending. So you might know this ne from other Uralic languages, followed by the possessive suffix. Careful. In the third person, this is especially noticeable. The endings, the person endings are actually the possessive suffixes here. So let's have a look at some verbs. So if we have ludash, to read, for example, here we have the forms. Pay attention in the third person singular and plural. And if we have kuchkash, to eat, remember the simplification of verbal stems that is sometimes necessary, well, whenever a suffix starting in the consonant is attached to a verbal stem, as we discussed. I mentioned that this is important because it's going to keep coming up over and over again. Here we are once again. Yeah, and here we see second conjugation verbs. It's just attached to the verbal stem. So in the second conjugation, there is nothing shocking going on, really, if you know how to derive the verbal stem from the infinitive. Okay, and in negation, it works basically the same, but here we have the stem of the negation verb. In the desiderative, it is rather than the o that we had in the indicative. And well, the rest, it works basically as one would expect, inem, inet, etc. So it is beautifully segmentable, the negation verb here. Careful in the third person singular that here is just inesh rather than ineja. Okay, that's it for the desiderative. If you want a less abbreviated overview, go to the long form video. We discuss it there in detail and practice it with students. And the second grammatical point is, well, when can we attach nominal suffixes to adjectives? And we look at some situations when adjectives via conversion are just used as nouns. So like buy bread, and I'm asking Mari, well, should I get dark bread or white bread? And in Mari, you just say dark or white and use both of these as nouns. Yeah, and if adjectives occur in apposition, we call it. So when like an attributive adjective doesn't precede the noun as it usually does, but comes after it, then also the rule that I laid down all the way back in chapter 1 no longer applies. That if I say I'm making a house, a small one, instead of just saying I'm making a small house, then the small one also needs to be inflected as if it were a noun. That's it with the grammar, words and word usage. What have we got? Okay, verestash. This is a word that's somewhat difficult to translate into English. Basically, it means to get into somewhere and get stuck somewhere. Like it is if a fish gets stuck in a trap or something like that. Verestash is what the fish is doing. We don't have really good counterpart for this in English. So we kind of have to rephrase things when we translate. Like if we say Echanlan kuku kol verestesh, like to Echan, a big fish goes into the trap, kind of. Now we would just say that Echan catches a big fish. But it is also used sometimes in more like the sense when you have to do something, not because you have some kind of obligation to do it, but it's just things happen in a way that it becomes your lot in life to do that. Like I have to sell the car in this case. I get forced to my lot to sell the car. And like selling the car here, it's not it's not any kind of real obligation due to ethical principles or anything like that. You just ran out of money, so this is what you've got to do. Or like waiting for somebody. If you have to wait for the bus or a friend because the bus is late or the friend is late, this is not an obligation, it's just life happening. Okay, gna only. There are two things to note about this this word. One is that it always follows the word that it modifies. So if we're saying only apples, it's olma gna, apple only. And this is categorically the case. Gna can never occur at in the first position of a sentence. It needs a host word. The second notable thing about it is if we have something like ik, yoltash, gna, so one friend only one friend, it's actually pronounced as ik yoltash kna. You rewrite it as a g, but it's pronounced as a k. So this is the same principle that we already had when we saw the possessive suffix of the second person plural, and when we looked at some postpositions. Basically, Mari words that are orthographically written with g or d in the first position, the actual pronunciation of the sound depends on the preceding sound, and if it is an obstruent consonant, then what is spelled as d is pronounced as t, and what is spelled as g is pronounced as k. Pel and pele, both words mean half. What is the difference between these? If you think back to the numerals, or just to last week when we were looking at, or 2 weeks ago when we were looking at color terms, you might have a guess. Pel is the adjectival form that needs a noun to follow it. Pel sukker, half a loaf. But pele is a noun that stands on its own when there is no other noun that it is modifying. The same distinction we have between minyar, how much, how many, and minyare. Minyar needs to have another noun following. Minyar olma, how many apples, but minyare is just how much or how many with no noun following it. Uke, no, this is just a revision of the different functions that the word uke has. It is the quick no answer, just to give a negative reply to a polar question. It is used in existential negation when something does not exist, there is no hope, and by extension it is then also used in the negation of to have constructions. I don't have a house, which literally in Mari is my house does not exist. Quick thing to pay attention to: shogash, to stand, and shogash, to cost. These, it's etymologically connected. It stands to reason, but yeah, one should know about this connection, that we have both a verb shogash meaning stand and to cost, and the inflection is the same. And yeah, here we look at some oddities as regards the government of shogash, to cost. That is to say, in what cases constituents and adjuncts occur in combination with this verb. So if we ask, what does something cost with mo what, here then we have mosh shoga, into what does it cost. But when I say that something costs 200 rubles, for example, here we have the accusative. Just a little quirk to pay attention to. Chala, chalan, chalage, 3 words that mean all in some way, but we're looking at the differences between these. Basically, chala is the base form, all, everything. Chalan is actually an instructive form, so it's prototypically adverbial. We have looked at instructive forms in N when we looked at the converbs in a few weeks ago. We saw that. In chalage, it's actually with the possessive suffix third person singular, and this is more like in total, sort of like to sum it all up. Yeah, yodash, to ask. There are some quirks as regards the government of this verb, that if we use yodash in combination to a noun to ask for something, we have the person of whom we ask something is marked with dech, from, and the thing for which we are asking is marked in the accusative. I'm asking from my friend help in the accusative. However, if we use yodash in combination with a verb, the person whom we are asking to do something is in the accusative now. And well, that's the only the only adjunct that we have here. And well, this is in the critical point that if we use it in combination for the noun, in Mari, usually we don't have double accusative marking. One verb does not have two accusative objects. So if we have it in combination for a noun, asking somebody for something, the something already is taking up the accusative slot. So the person of whom we are asking something can't take the accusative slot anymore. But if we have it in combination with a verb, nothing is taking the accusative slot. So the person whom you are asking for something can be in the accusative slot because it's still free. Yeah. So, and in the text, we are going to see how Echan goes to the store at his mother's behest and goes to the market and buys various things. After which, oops, you once again can have a look at the exercises. And as a bonus, if you feel like it, you can then have a look at the song of the week. And this is something completely different now. Kurort. Kurort being a Russian word that is actually a German word, a place of recreation. And yeah, this is a very modern song where you get to hear some rapping about countryside life. Okay, see you next time.